Good morning from here in Toronto. Today we're flying Air Canada's recently reintroduced 737 Forgot my wallet at security.
On this trip during the height of the Canadian winter, we'll be taking the 737 MAX 8 from a comparatively tropical Toronto to a glacial Edmonton, and then again on the same aircraft type on the way back a few days later. Each approximate 4-hour flight will cover around 1,670 miles. Joining me today is this rando who goes by the street name MD PaulyD, not to be confused by the much more popular DJ PaulyD. You can easily differentiate between the two by this one's complete absence of any fashion sense, given that both of them are equally mediocre at music production. The aircraft we'll be taking on this leg of the trip is obscured by all this gate infrastructure, so here's a better shot from the de-icing station. Air Canada seeks to use its 24 MAX 8s along with the A220s to replace its aging fleet of Airbus A319s and 320s. There's another 16 of these Boeing planes on order, but having been already deferred, we won't be seeing them anytime soon. In my professional amateur opinion, this 50-year-old airframe design actually looks pretty good with the airline's raccoon livery. If you're a longtime viewer, then I most likely have shown you Pearson more times than the MAX has made headlines, so let's just skip ahead to boarding. This was done rather unceremoniously, with a man calling out zones to the few people at the gate. The plane itself, however, looked pretty exciting with its futuristic lighting setup.
Oh, hi there. You guys ready? Is that okay? Hi there. Sorry, quick question. Am I allowed to take photos on board? I'm just not going to take photos of any persons or staff. Is that okay?
Yeah, you can.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, alright, now that awkwardness is out of the way, here we go. The business class on this aircraft comes in 4 rows of 2x2 seating, totaling 16 seats, 4 more than on the A220. These are the MiQ business class / premium economy seats made by Collins Aerospace. They're almost identical to what you'll find on the airline's A220 business and the new A330 premium economy products. There's something to be said about the dark color palette. It's classy yet modern, minimal yet stylish, and fits in perfectly with the airline's black and red branding identity. Upon boarding, it's hard to overlook the overhead bins, as they are massive on this latest iteration of the 737, addressing the bin space issue of the older airplanes. Overall, the seats and cabin are a huge improvement over the antiquated interiors of the Airbus and Embraer narrowbodies in the fleet. There's tons of legroom, and the space feels open and accessible. Okay, I'm sure you've been waiting for this, so let's get on with the comprehensive seat tour, starting off with the 12-inch 1080p seatback display, which articulates like so. Beneath this is a small pocket which I've yet to find a use for, and further down still the magazine holder. There's an adjustable footrest that comes out like this, and a hook on the side. There's another weird little pocket here, don't really know what that's for either, but storage space is storage space. And speaking of space, on the central structure, this surface comes out to give you more drink holding capacity. Down here you'll find the manual controls for the seat adjustments for the recline and leg rest. The central armrests themselves also lift up to reveal a generous amount of storage space. You can easily fit a laptop in here, and you might as well since it's also home to the headphone I/O and universal power socket. The headrest itself is made from a soft leather, it can be moved up and down, and features flaps for head support. The embroidered logo is also a nice touch. Alright, moving on to this other side, you'll find a tray table in the armrest, which comes out easily with the pull of a tab, gone are the perilous days of losing fingers during this operation. The table unfolds open for an adequately sturdy surface that also slides back and forth. Putting it away is just as easy. If you're a pro gamer like myself, then you can use your leg to help. Alright, let's wrap this up. On the aisle seats, you can pull on this tab to lower the aisle side armrest, although the benefits of this are diminished by the fact that the tray table is in here, so you can't exactly get out during a meal. Thankfully, the overhead panel still has individual air nozzles, something not every airline opts for. Despite the gimmicky name, the sky interior dome lighting is pretty well done, giving an older cabin interior a refreshed look. The leg rest that comes out of the seat gives pretty good support, and the recline was Pretty decent. And lastly, for those of you who care, the underseat storage is free of any IFE boxes.
Just in case this was not abundantly clear, but we're not just doing this to get on this plane. Otherwise we wouldn't go to Edmonton. Like, who would go to Edmonton in the middle of winter, in the middle of a lockdown, in the middle of a pandemic? There's no plane in the world, let me just preface that is interesting enough to warrant a trip to Edmonton outside of a work obligation.
Dr. D and I had some pretty mundane research to do in the Albertan capital. Neither of us were really looking forward to the Arctic temperatures, but it did mean we got to fly on this alleged death trap, so I guess it worked out. Did I say death trap? Much to our dismay, while there was Wi-Fi on the plane, there was no Wi-Fi on this flight, because they couldn't get it to work. To be fair, these aircraft just came back into operation when we took this trip, so by the time you're watching this, it should be fixed. Should. Unlike the Wi-Fi, the ovens were working, and with that, breakfast arrived almost immediately after the seatbelt signs came off. These days, the offering has been cut back from what it typically is. No longer are the meals served on china plates, but instead in this disposable paper box, although it's pretty nice as far as paper boxes go. Today's meal featured an amazingly fresh plain yogurt parfait, and my all-time favorite, this chicken sausage and omelette in a mind-blowing red pepper relish with cottage cheese. If you don't like this particular dish, well then too bad, there's only one option, but I've yet to meet someone who doesn't find this dish extraordinary. On the other hand, specific meals are no longer preloaded, so if you have dietary restrictions, be sure to indicate that when you're booking your flight. Unlike the main dish, the pastries were not warm. Instead, they come as a shelf-stable supermarket variety, and you can expect the quality to be on par with that too. Despite it being just 9 AM, the guy sitting next to me decided it was perfectly appropriate to start drinking. In lieu of the mimosas that were no longer being served, he contented himself by making his own.
We have work today.
Not bad. Not bad.
After breakfast was done, we were just passing over Thunder Bay, and draw whatever parallels you want to, but I'm taking this occasion to visit the bathroom. This lavatory is pretty standard Boeing affair at the front of the plane. There's a minuscule sink, some counter space, a baby change station, and of course a toilet. As a whole, I have to say that the bathrooms on the newer Airbus narrowbodies are definitely much more spacious, and by that virtue, much nicer. let's have a quick look at the COVID-era amenity kit. Now these are handed out to every passenger in every class on every flight. And as far as sanitation kits go, this one is actually quite impressive, especially considering that they hand them out even on the shortest of routes. Another impressive element of the airline is that every seat on every jet has a built-in IFE display. This one features a bright and crisp matte screen running the latest iteration of the Android-based entertainment suite. However, unlike almost every other system in the fleet, the hardware on the 737s are not made by Panasonic, but rather Thales, the same aerospace company that straight up rejected my job application 3 years ago. So for no particular reason, the Panasonic one is objectively better. In terms of content, I've gone over the AC library a million times, so if you want details, check out any of my other videos on the airline. With that said, I will point out that, unlike the Panasonic systems, the route map on the Maxes don't run on FlightMap 3D. Instead, it uses a completely original program, which is totally not a ripoff, called 3D Maps. It's very similar in terms of functionality to its Panasonic counterpart, except for the fact that everything is just slightly worse. Seriously, they didn't even give me an interview. Both PaulyD and I log quite a number of miles on Air Canada hardware every year, so we've both long exhausted any content we want to watch. Despite this and the fact that there was no internet, we still somehow managed to keep ourselves occupied, mostly with Paul recounting his horror stories from residency. The rest of the flight passed by without much excitement, and we soon found ourselves landing in Edmonton.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. All right, we're live.
Yeah.
Although that might change because it is 25 degrees below zero here. Hi, so it's been 2 days since I've talked to you. We've just finished all our work here in Edmonton. And speaking of work, they've been kind enough to put us up here at the JW Marriott. And I know, right, Edmonton has a JW Marriott, who would have thunk it? But it is time to go home, and we're gonna be doing that again on the 737 MAX, but this time in economy class.
Just for a quick overview, because I know you won't forgive me otherwise, let me show you the hotel room. Now we both have status with Marriott, hence we got upgraded to a pair of these swanky suites, and happily so given the city was on lockdown and there wasn't much to do in the minus 30-degree temperatures. These fancy hotel rooms were definitely a pleasant surprise, especially when neither of us even knew that there was a JW in the city, let alone a brand new one with impressive amenities. But alas, our stint in town was up, so bundled up, we headed back to the airport.
Too much. So then when you can really flick that switch, you can like slam back 4 cups of coffee. Then you're awake, and then once that starts to fade, then you're in like the 2 cups range or whatever, then you can fall asleep.
Hi, so we're back at the airport. A little bit of a hitch in the plans. We've both been upgraded. We're still gonna have a look at economy somehow, but I mean, get to look at what lunch is like in business now, so that's a plus, I guess. Ooh, wines and spirits. Hi there. I'm kinda hungover. This place is making me sick.
Edmonton's airport is exactly what you would expect from a mid-sized Canadian city. It's very clean, airy, and comes in the form of one very long concourse, negating any source of confusion. Seating is both comfortable and abundant, with the lack of apron views made irrelevant by the absence of anything interesting to see. This novelty vending machine from the local university slightly made up for it, but then again the med school here rejected me, so I had no interest in purchasing anything.
Oh, and Edmonton does have a couple of lounges, none of which are open at the moment, and probably won't be for a while.
Boarding was once again a very low-key affair given the trickle of passengers.
Oh, this is cold. Alright, so same situation as before, we're just on the other side of the plane, but otherwise in the exact same seats.
If you're a professional Canadian like we are, then you too will pick the last row, since with no one behind you, you can recline the seat without breaking any of the politeness laws. This particular aircraft was a little different from the one we came over on, with the ceiling missing the full-length RGB dome lighting. A nerd on the internet told me that it's because this is one of 5 Maxes that are ETOP certified for Atlantic crossings, hence the extra life rafts.
Wish I could say I was finally over you, but that's not the truth. Everyone always keep falling in love again. The fuck's wrong with them? I don't understand. Maybe it will pass by, someone save me. For I pass out, I'm too lonely to be done. I'm a drink at this place. Yeah.
Really not sure what I try to do there with that montage. Anyways, the Wi-Fi on this flight was once again inoperative, so once again it was quite dull on board. But it's not like I'm going to make you sit through that boredom. Instead, let's have a look at economy. On the Dash 8 variant of the Max, the main cabin comes in 25 rows of 3-3 seating. The first 9 rows of this are what they call preferred seating, featuring extra legroom. Each seat comes with its own touchscreen entertainment console and personal power outlets. Just like in business class, the seats themselves are very sexy, adorned in a sleek black leather with red and white accents. The first row are bulkhead seats, which do not have adjustable armrests or underseat storage. The main cabin also features sky lighting and the oversized luggage bins. The interior design of the cabin features a lot of subdued white surfaces, which I'm told were put in to help brighten and energize the atmosphere. As a note, the last row seats do not recline, but they are typically reserved for crew rest anyway. Once again, having no trouble finding a free seat, let's do a comprehensive seat tour, starting yet again with a 9-inch articulating IFE screen. There's I/O on the bottom for headphones, as well as a USB Type-A charging port. The tray table is a single piece that comes out like this. It slides on its rail, is solid, and has adequate space. Speaking of adequate space, knee room was not a concern in this preferred seat, with plenty of slouching potential. On a standard seat, however, the roominess was greatly reduced. Under the seats, there are more power points and USB chargers, and the armrests go up flush with the seat backs. The pillowy headrests have adjustable flaps on either side, and also do go up and down. Lastly, the recline was more of a token gesture, quite disappointing really. At the back of the plane, there are 2 of these tiny bathrooms with an even smaller sink and barely enough room to sit on the throne. For people who need extra mobility assistance, the wall between the 2 lavatories does fold open, but short of that, it is very cramped back here. Girthier individuals will definitely struggle. To the chagrin of the crew, the rear galley has also been shrunk to make room for the lavatories, which have been moved further back to make room for more seats. Overall, the economy cabin definitely does look and feel very new, but at 17 inches, the seats are slightly narrower than their equivalent on the A220, so given a choice, I'd probably take that plane over this one. After getting back to my seat, we were about an hour into the flight. The crew asked me if I wanted dinner, and I chose to put that off for a bit while I finished some readings. The fact that you can choose your meal times is something I've always appreciated when it comes to Air Canada's service. When I finally did decide to have dinner, it came once again in a box, and this time the menu was chicken and porcini sauce with the tiny little peppercorn pastas. There are a couple of menus at the moment, with each flight once again relegated to just one, and as far as they go, this chicken was quite enjoyable, not anything out of this world, but more than palatable. The meat salad was also quite good, as was the panna cotta. The bread roll, however, was not toasted and seemed somewhat of an afterthought. After dinner, the sun was settling into the horizon just behind us, and unlike the first flight, this time I did come prepared for the eventuality of non-functioning Wi-Fi by bringing some educational reading material. Okay, so no pre-landing thoughts this time. I think I did a decent job of showing you the plane in service in enough detail that I don't have to fill in the blanks. If you do have any epiphanies or opinions of your own though, please put them in the comments, I'll be curious to hear them. I will, however, say that, in my personal opinion, and that's based on the merit of my so far underutilized aerospace degree, I do think that any fatal flaws in the Maxes have been ironed out and rigorously tested over the last year, making it as safe as any other twin-engine plane based on a 50-year-old design. So, would I fly the 737 MAX again? Yes. But would I prefer to fly the A220 over it? Yes. Quite a number of you have asked me to do an updated Air Canada Signature Class review. Yeah, I'm not going to do that anytime soon. However, my buddy Derek did upload his, so if you need a refresher, you can follow the link.
Alright, thank you so much. Have a good night. Thank you. Take care. Well, that was the Air Canada 737 MAX experience. Unfortunately, for some of you, I didn't end up dying on this trip. But for the rest of you, thanks for watching, safe travels, and I'll see you next time.